Established in February 1968, the Anti-University of London served as an alternative to mainstream education. It was the London equivalent to the Free University of New York. It aimed to provide uncredited, radical and alternative education courses for a subsidized price, focusing on radical politics, existential psychiatry and artistic avant-garde. Welcome to the Black British Hub, where I explore histories of the racialized peoples of Britain and the British Empire. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and keep notified. The idea of the Anti-University project came from some participants of the Dialectics of Liberation Congress 1967, as well as other radicals. The Dialectics of Liberation Congress was an international congress held in London from July 15th to July 30th, 1967 at the Camden Roundhouse in London. South African psychiatrist Dr. David Cooper gave an introduction, and this was followed by an opening speech by Dr. R.D. Laing, a Scottish psychiatrist, who were both prominent figures of the anti-psychiatry movement, which seeks to criticize methods of psychiatry and how psychiatric institutions operate. However, the movement is controversial, where figures have denied the legitimacy of mental illness. The organizing secretary of the Congress was psychotherapist Dr. Joseph Burke. Notable participants included Kwame Ture, economist Paul Sweezy, poet Allen Ginsberg, John Degrassi, a veteran of the Free University of New York, openly gay writer and anarchist Paul Goodman. The idea of establishing a free university in London was proposed when a group of radicals met from December 1967 to January 1968. They met repeatedly in a consulting room in Harley Street, which is in the Marylebone area in central London, and in a terraced house in Camden, North London, to discuss the formation of the Anti-University. On December 12, 1967, in a meeting in a terraced house with Alan Krebs, Burke, Cooper, Mitchell, Leon Medler, Stuart Montgomery, Morty Schatzman, and Aubrey Raymond being presented, they agreed on what the university would be called and other circumstances. They agreed the institution would be called the Anti-University of London and that it would be opened on February 12, 1968 at Riverton Street in Shoreditch, East London, with the permission of the Bertrand Russell Peace Foundation. American sociology professor and Marxist educationalist Alan Krebs was chosen as the university's organizing secretary. A general secretary was to be hired part-time in January. The school year would be divided into 4 quarters, lasting about 8 weeks. Courses would be weekly and last about 2.5 hours each session, although they may be bi-weekly due to a mutual agreement between the lecturer and the school. Courses would be preferably taught between Sunday and Friday evenings, with Saturday being open for special events. Courses may be taught during the day. The Anti-University was sponsored by the Institute of Phenomenological Studies, which was founded by radical existential psychiatrists including Cooper, Laing and Burke. A budget was also presented. The organising secretary was to be paid £15 a week, which is £326 adjusted for inflation. They were to spend £200 for publicity, £4,347 for inflation. The institute would loan £350 or £7,607 for inflation to the Anti-University, and the money would be paid back ASAP in instalments each quarter of the year. For each quarter, administrative expenses would be deducted from the gross amount. From the remainder or the net amount, 2/3 would go to teachers' pay and 1/3 will go to a contingency fund. A fundraising campaign would also be initiated. Stuart Montgomery mentioned his conversation with the representatives of the Greater London Education Authority and suggested money could be advanced if the courses offered are unique and that if the school is a charity. However, others had a feeling that this would be a poor source for funds. Another meeting was organised, this time in the location of the building with more attendees in January 8, 1968. They were to ask the Vietnam Solidarity Foundation to vacate the premises as of January 15th, although the organisation was very reluctant to leave. In this meeting, they discussed how many floors the building has and what room would be used for, as well as how many students would be in each room. There were only a few rooms. They also discussed the working hours of the secretary from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m, Monday to Friday. A few attendees were assigned with each task regarding publicity. They also mentioned faculty members. Notable lecturers and members of the Antiuniversity included CLR James, Joseph Burke, R.D. Lang, Kwame Ture, Obi Egbuna, poet Jeff Nuttall, Yoko Ono, novelist Alex Trocchi, Cordelius Cardew. Many of them were presented at the opening of the Anti-University. Initial membership fees of the establishment was £8 a term, although it was £5 for those who registered before and paid in full. According to a newsletter, paying in full meant cash and/or goods and/or services, although I'm still not sure what is this related to. Despite being a free university, each course attended had cost 10 shillings, which is the equivalent to 50 pence. There were approximately 40 faculties, one of them being led by a political theatre company called Cartoon Archetypical Slogan Theatre. Most courses were unique. For example, there was a course called Typography and Poetry, which was taught by American poet Asa Benveniste, who co-founded a poetry magazine called Zero, in which one of the works featured in its second issue was by James Baldwin. There was another course called Anti-Institutions, taught by Joseph Burke, where it concerned liberation from institutions such as universities, hospitals, the government, theatre and family. Other really unique courses included the Sociology of Revolution, in the case of Cuba, Sociology of Guerrilla Warfare, Black Power, taught by Obi Egbuna, Dialogues about Relevant and Irrelevant Matters, yes, that was the actual name of a course, Dragons, again yes, Poetry Anti-Course, Politics, the interrelationship between crime, government and business, America, the expansion of an empire 1880 to the present, A Critical View of Criticism, Underground Communication Theory, and Jeff Nuttall is Fat. I do not know the story behind this course name, but it focused on 3 topics: the nature of vision, the importance of difficulty, and the function of failure. The Anti-University started with only a few faculties and a few students, but by spring the numbers grew and 300 students were attending. Despite the budget plans, this project was not financially self-sufficient as unpaid bills were mounting up, and in August of 1968 the Anti-University was forced to leave the premises. For the next 3 years, they held their lectures in members' flats and London pubs. Just a month before, the Anti-University was already showing signs of financial problems when visual poet Bob Cobbin, who was also the coordinator of the Anti-University, resigned due to the untenable economic situation. In a letter written to Joe Burke, Cobbin said that the Anti-University no longer has money to pay for a coordinator. He believed that the new arrangement of courses being formed at a rally in Hyde Park was unworkable and he couldn't coordinate such a project. Cobbin also criticised the Anti-University's decline of initial membership fees and courses without putting forward an adequate economic alternative that would give the Anti-University a short expectation of life. Cobbin resigned on July 10, 1968. Additionally, in a letter written by Charles Farley of the Bertrand Russell Peace Foundation dated on June 25, 1968 to Bob Cobbin, there were outstanding arrears concerning the new coin box telephone, the original telephone, and electricity. A letter was sent to lecturers and students upon the eviction notice informing that until the Anti-University has more money, courses and seminars will be held at members' homes. The registration fee changed to £5 a year from September 1968. If members' cards were not shown, a visitor's fee of 5 shillings would be charged. Notification of all public lectures sponsored by the Anti-University will be first sent to members who would have been able to attend at half price. A room in a pub would be rented for the general meeting and a get-together on the second Friday in September when future courses could be discussed. As the course structure as well as the quarter structure was abolished, with courses starting all the time according to needs and desires, the deinstitutionalization of the anti-institution had fulfilled its own logic. A number of courses and meetings carried on around London, with Bill Mason's flat in Soho as the hub and postal address. Advertisements were placed in the International Times every week with a phone number stating that people can call for information on courses, seminars and meetings. Advertisements seem to have stopped running after autumn of 1971. In a capitalist society, it can be quite difficult to construct a community project that is functionally anti-capitalist because you are limited in who and what can fund it. Regular university was free in the UK from 1945 until 1998. The Education Act 1962 formalised the process of fees being covered by local authorities and not paid by the students, but was repealed in 1998, where students had to pay up to £1,000 a year. However, this project couldn't have been funded by the authorities because it stands against all capitalist institutions. This made it hard for the project to survive for a long time, and not even the fees could sustain its goals. Additionally, there were no planned alternatives, like other community spaces, to continue the project, making it a purely utopian project. When Bob Cobbin resigned as a coordinator, there was no coordinator to replace him because there were no attempts to employ another. Instead, the Anti-University was coordinated and maintained by the students. There were also contradictions within what was supposed to be an anti-institution. There were flyers calling for the end of the distinction between students, teachers and administration, but an ad hoc coordination committee existed. This was the formal decision-making body which had employed Alan Krebs and later Bob Cobbin as a coordinator and Susan Settler as secretary. When the caretaker of the snack bar in the lounge of the building, Peter Upward, moved into the Anti-University in April, he was joined by a group of friends. This meant the anti-institution was becoming a commune. Although this was not decided or approved by anybody, this was welcomed as part of the development of the project. The ad hoc committee, however, according to some people, served as a reactionary force within the framework of the Anti-University. In an article in the International Times, Martin Siegel described the conflict. He said, "The rebels were told in effect to go out and start a family of their own if they wanted participatory democracy and the like. The family had it set up and was not interested in the acting out of personalities put together by rubber bands and clips. It was not interested in boring meetings as the vehicle of decision making. It was not interested, and that was final." Furthermore, the committee was criticised for its lack of transparency and holding meetings in secret. Siegel described the committee as them, calling them the founding fathers who were trying to get rebellious children to behave. In 2003, one of the Anti-University's lecturers, John Latham, was interviewed about his time in the Anti-University. He only actually gave one lecture and then thought he was wasting his time, that it was too difficult of a project and there should never have been an Anti-University. The Anti-University project ultimately faded because there was no campus, and without a campus, there can't be any focus. Unfortunately for those with this vision, this anarchic practice proved disastrous in an individualist capitalist society. In 2015, the Anti-University was revived, but not in the same way as the original. With its headquarters in another part of East London, Anti-University now serves to challenge institutionalized education with its academic and class hierarchy and exclusivity of the 9K a year tuition by inviting people to organize and share learning events in public spaces all over the country. The Anti-University is shaped by anyone who takes part, organizer, host or guest, just as long as no one puts each other in any risk. Although there is no fixed constitution, activities in the Anti-University are staunchly rooted in a collective desire which enacts anti-capitalist, anarchist, feminist, queer, inclusive, decolonial and anti-racist values through conversation and direct action. Thank you for watching this video and I hope you enjoyed it.